Everyone thinks Thor is the strongest god in Norse mythology. Mjolnir, lightning, the god of thunder. He's been in every Marvel film, every video game, every textbook. But here's what those sources all quietly skip over. Thor was not the original war god. There was someone before him, someone the Vikings actually prayed to first, someone so powerful that even Odin, the All-Father, had to negotiate with him. His name was Tyr, and by the end of this video, you will understand where the Norse people deliberately buried his story. Most people have never heard of Tyr, and that is not an accident. Tyr, spelled T-Y-R, is one of the oldest gods in all of Norse mythology. In fact, scholars believe he predates Odin himself. His name literally translates to God in Proto-Germanic, the ancient language that became modern German, English, and Dutch. Tuesday, that is Tyr's Day. Tyr's Day, Tuesday. The same way Thursday is Thor's Day, and Wednesday is Odin's Day, Woden's Day. For a god most people have never heard of, he has been living inside your weekly calendar this entire time. In the oldest layers of Norse myth, before the stories were written down by Christian scholars in Iceland, Tyr was not just a war god. He was the god, the Sky Father, the ruler of all things. Over centuries, Odin absorbed most of Tyr's original role. Historians call this mythological displacement, when one god's story gets written over by another. But fragments of the original Tyr survived, and what those fragments reveal is extraordinary. To understand how powerful Tyr was, you need to understand what he was willing to do. The Norse gods had a problem. Loki, the trickster god, had fathered a son. Not a human son, not a god. A wolf named Fenrir, and Fenrir was growing, every day larger, every week stronger. The gods tried to raise him in Asgard, thinking they could control him. They were wrong. Fenrir grew so massive that only Tyr had the courage to feed him. Every other god was too afraid to enter his pen. Think about that. Odin, the most powerful being in the 9 realms, refused to go near Fenrir. Thor, with his enchanted hammer, stayed away. Only Tyr walked in. Not because he didn't understand the danger, but because he understood it completely, and walked in anyway. That is not recklessness. That is a different kind of power. Eventually, the gods knew Fenrir had to be contained. They commissioned the dwarves to create a magical ribbon called Gleipnir. It looked like silk. It felt like air, but it was unbreakable, made from the sound of a cat's footstep, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, the spittle of a bird. 6 impossible things woven into one. They brought it to Fenrir and asked him to let them bind him with it. Fenrir was not stupid. He agreed, but only on one condition. One of the gods had to place their hand inside his mouth as a guarantee, as collateral, as proof that this was not a trick. Every god in Asgard went silent. Not one of them volunteered. Not Odin, not Thor, not Freya, not Heimdall. Then Tyr raised his hand. He walked forward. He placed his right hand, his sword hand, his dominant hand, into the mouth of the largest, most dangerous creature in all 9 realms. The gods bound Fenrir with Gleipnir. Fenrir pulled. The ribbon held. He realized he had been tricked, and he bit down. Tyr lost his hand. He never flinched. He never screamed. The sagas record that he simply accepted it. Because Tyr was not just the god of war, he was the god of justice. He had made a promise to Fenrir, an implicit one, a guarantee of good faith. The other gods had broken that promise, so Tyr paid the price for all of them. He sacrificed his sword hand, the hand a warrior needs more than anything, because it was the right thing to do, and he never complained about it. Here is where it gets interesting. Tyr losing his hand is not just a dramatic story, it is a theological statement. In Norse culture, physical perfection was required to rule. Odin lost his eye and had to compensate with wisdom. A one-handed king was considered unfit. So after the sacrifice, Tyr could no longer be king of the gods, even if he had been before. Some historians believe this story was invented, or at least amplified, precisely to explain why Tyr had been displaced by Odin. In other words, the myth justifies the political change. Tyr was too powerful to simply erase, so they wounded him in the story instead. There is another layer. Tyr is the only god described as embodying both war and law. Every other war deity, Ares in Greek myth, Mars in Roman, represents chaos and destruction. Tyr represented something different: righteous war, justified conflict. The idea that some battles must be fought and that fighting them with honor matters as much as winning. The Vikings swore oaths on Tyr's name, not Odin's, not Thor's. When a Viking made the most serious promise of his life, he invoked Tyr, because Tyr was the only god they trusted to hold both sides of a covenant. So let's settle this. Thor is stronger in physical power. Mjolnir is real. The thunder is real. He kills giants for sport. No one is taking that away from him. But here is the question the myths actually answer. Who did the Norse people trust with the things that mattered most? War, Tyr. Justice, Tyr. Sacred oaths, Tyr. The decision to fight and whether that fight was right, Tyr. Thor was the muscle, Tyr was the spine. Thor fought because he was powerful, Tyr sacrificed because it was necessary. In a culture that valued honor above survival, there is no question which of those qualities the Vikings respected more. Thor is famous because Marvel made him famous. Tyr is forgotten because history buried him. And those are two very different things. At Ragnarok, the end of all things, Tyr fights Garm, the monstrous hound who guards the gates of hell. Both of them die. Tyr kills Garm. Garm kills Tyr. No survival, no resurrection. A trade. Even at the end of the world, Tyr's story is about sacrifice rather than glory. He does not get the dramatic send-off. He does not get the saga written in his name. He just does what needs to be done. One last